In this video, I'll show you how I painted up this Reaper's miniature and talk about how I approach projects. Hello everyone, my name is Spencer and I'm trying to become a better miniature painter and a better diorama maker. My sister got me this Jade Tiger Monk miniature from Reaper and I just wanted to paint it up and make a little bit different of a video than what I usually make. Typically, I want to try and tell stories through my dioramas, but this guy, I just wanted to paint up and have some practice with him. And overall, he was pretty straightforward with just assembling him by gluing him to the base, putting him on a priming handle, adding some texture mud to hide the seam. And ultimately, I really liked how he ended up as a monk in a garden doing Tai Chi or meditation. But that story would be very short and brief and wouldn't necessarily fill up a full YouTube video's worth of recording. So as the video recording plays behind me, I'll talk a bit about myself and my approach to the hobby, but just comment on the recording in the background as needed, such as adding a Zenithal Prime using a matte black rattle can and a Wraithbone rattle can. For this project, I didn't approach it too seriously. I came in with a bit of a challenge for myself, and I will only be using Army Painter paints that are in the Pan-Oceania Infinity box. And I've laid them out on the screen here because they all have different names. It's very confusing, but what can you do? I definitely have a bit of an itch when it comes to collecting new hobby products. I'm kind of a sucker for them. So I always like trying to use a wide variety of paints and brushes as much as I can to pseudo-justify owning them. But to start the painting process, I took some speed paint to put down some initial colors, and then I just kind of made sure to cover the entire model with enough variations of tones to make it look visually interesting. This video is loosely inspired by one of my favorite content creators. He does these informal series where he just kind of talks to the audience while stuff is happening in the background and almost treats it as like a flow of thought to the audience. And I just wanted to try that out for this. So this video really is not for the ungodly algorithm or commercial success, dare I say, but it's more just me talking about myself to all of you. I'm currently deep in the weeds with a bunch of projects, and I'm pretty happy with how they're going. I really enjoy seeing my skills improve, and I really hope that even though I would consider myself maybe an intermediate painter at this point, hopefully the techniques I'm doing help make it seem that there is in fact an entry level to this hobby, and it's not always the professionals you see online making beautiful works of art every time, winning golden demons or hitting, 1 million subscribers. I like to be that middle part where I'm just a guy with paints and a brush just trying his best, trying to visualize his imagination and share it with y'all. And like I said, this miniature was just a gift to me, and I just kind of got the inspiration for it, which is something I realized recently where I'm trying to take on huge Star Wars Legion Warhammer 40K projects soon, which will inevitably lead to lots of work and needing to paint like 40 models at a time. So where I can, I think I'm going to try to slow down and just paint up a random guy. It might not be the most challenging project, but I still just need to have fun with the hobby, and that's something I kind of keep forgetting about. Although that's not necessarily exclusive to my relationship to hobby. I should probably just take all of life a little bit less seriously at times. And kind of coming back to this guy, I really just kind of started throwing stuff at the wall and tried to see what would stick. So even though I used a limited palette, I was mixing colors a lot more than I usually do. I tried to make washes from hand instead of out of bottles. I worked on layering skills, trying to make sure that when I was building up like the boots on screen, it would be a different layering color than the belt or the robe or the pants or the skin. And I really just wanted to try and make this model as visually varied as possible. And speaking of layering, glazing, and washing, I will be going to Gen Con this year and taking a buttload of miniature painting classes. So I'm incredibly excited for that. I don't necessarily know exactly what I'm getting into, but this hobby's all about fun and learning and gradually improving. So I'm excited to talk to people that have significantly more experience than I do, just to see if there's tips and tricks into making better blends, making better eyes, making more convincing scenes, and all that kind of stuff. Because if I could even just continue to improve my abilities to make these little stories that I share on the internet, it's going to be something that I'm going to enjoy for a very long time. I am currently knee-deep in building up some Legion armies. I am currently done with my Galactic Empire, working on Separatists. The Mandalorians are coming out, and then there's the Republic and the Empire that, at the very minimum, I want to paint almost all the miniatures. I love Star Wars. I just love thinking about it, and I love thinking about trying to put the yellow on the Clone Trooper armor for Cody, that kind of stuff. And then, debatably, fortunately or unfortunately, Warhammer 11th edition is coming out, and I have some schemes that I'm excited to run for both the Orcs and the Space Marines. And I like the Tau, and then I like the Tyranids. So where I'm really trying to go with that is, even though I live in a tiny apartment with my soon-to-be wife now, I have plenty of projects to be working on, plenty of things to be excited for, and I really just continue to be jazzed every day to get into this hobby and try my best and see what comes of what. For this guy specifically, I really wanted to focus on the layering and the glazing of the skin. Skin's always been one of my weak suits, and I really want to try and make figures look more lifelike and pay more attention to detail with them. And quite frankly, I was pretty happy with the result. I try to follow all types of guides online from almost any model makers or diorama makers. But, you know, progress is slow. This plate metal is actually the only paint that isn't in the Pano set. I decided to include it just to give a little bit of metallic into the project. For the final touches for the project, I edge highlighted the cloak, and unfortunately the rest of my footage got corrupted, but I painted the rim matte black, and then I added some grass tufts that my sister also got me for Christmas onto the side of the base. But once those are done off screen, we can move on to some lovely glamour shots. I'd like to take this moment to say thank you to all of you who stayed through to the end of this video. I know it's a little bit like the ramblings of a madman, but I really appreciate the opportunity to share my imagination with you all and just treat this as a creative outlet. If you want to stay up to date with my other projects, please feel free to like and subscribe. But other than that, I hope you all have an excellent week, and I'll see you in the next one.